name is Misha, and I'm here to give you a little bit of game on how I got through and where I am today. Check me out. Alabama, 15, small town, big dreams. Ambitious but no team, so I joined the Navy when I turned 18. Got to see the world, learned a lot of things, but I had to beat feet because it wasn't for me. It was a scary place, demons I had to face. Made it out, heart full of doubt. Moved to California, saw the flashing lights, and for the first time it finally felt right. Made a few mistakes but did a ton of good. Do you know what it's like to be misunderstood? I've loved, I've laughed, I've cried, but look at me, I survived. And you can too, here's how. Never give up, never have too many friends, never lie to your mom, always go to the gym. Never lie, never cheat, listen to the voice within, that's your intuition. It will save your life. Never steal, never hate, never leave your friend alone at a party or a night out, that's girl code. Eat your veggies, be kind, love yourself. Rewind! I gotta say that again. Eat your veggies, be kind, love yourself, because that's very important. Because if you can't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else? Never copy someone's swag, get your own. Don't just be letting anybody inside your home. Protect your heart, protect your peace, protect your mental. And remember, reading is what? Fundamental. Never be scared to fail, something I have to constantly remind myself all the time, because fear will kill your dreams and hinder your success. So take that risk. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here with you today. Don't do drugs, alcohol is poisonous, find your passion, have fun, and dance. Always dance. Rhythm, no rhythm, silly, serious, dance. You don't need no music. Just dance.
Hey little sis, this is Miss Jordan. I have a quick story time for you, more of a cautionary tale. When I was around your age, I thought I had it all. I was about to graduate high school. I had my things in order, and I met a guy. And I just thought he was the bee's knees. He told me I was beautiful, smart, and I was like, heck yeah I am. Yeah I am. Gave me all the things that I thought I needed in that moment. And then the compliments stopped coming. So I thought if I gave him more, he would give me more back. So I gave him all the compliments, love, affection, and attention that my little 19-year-old heart could give. And unfortunately, my little 19-year-old heart did not receive the same. I soon found out that I was not the only love that was pouring into that cup. And my cup was empty because I had poured everything into him thinking that he was going to refill me because we were in love. He loved me and I loved him, and there was nothing else, no one else that could tell me any different. But people started to tell me different. And once I noticed that my cup was dry and bare and his was overflowing from others, there was nothing left for me to do. So I had to pick my cup up and fill it myself. So my cautionary tale to you is never pour until your cup is empty. Always make sure you have enough for yourself. You are more important than anything else. Remember, you always have you.
All right. Hey sis, it's Miss Denny. We're all telling stories about what we wish you would have known when we were younger. This particular story is about how to take rejection, how to shoot your shot and be rejected and it being okay, even if it's embarrassing, and how to be embarrassed and still rise above it, because you can do that too. Well, I was in 12th grade. And in my high school, we had something called zero period. Zero period started at like 7 a.m. So I was in class at 7 a.m. For whatever reason this day, we had a girl in our class. Her name was Shalon. Shalon was doing the splits. Shalon was a really, really tall girl. And we couldn't figure out how she could get herself to just flop on the ground and do splits like this. Like she was just doing like, if you see that Jake Paul video, she would just stand there, she just do splits. It was crazy. So we were all just sitting in the classroom because it was mad early in the morning, just doing the splits and eating breakfast, getting ready to start our day. So we're sitting there talking to each other, and I liked this boy named Brian Greer. I had a mad crush on him. Brian Greer was fine. Brian Greer was 6'5" in high school. He was chocolate. He had a good smile. He always was just funny, good-natured type dude. I like funny, geeky guys. Everybody likes edgy dudes, but I was into funny, geeky guys. You always learn something from them, and if anything, it's gonna be interesting. So he was sitting in the back with his friend, and they were talking, and I had went over and I sat down, and we were just doing splits in the middle of the room, and I sit next to him, and I say, hey, Brian. He's laughing. So I'm thinking, okay, this is the time to shoot my shot. It's in the morning. He's laughing and joking and giggling. I'm thinking he's going to be in a good mood. Let's go. So I look at him, and I say, hey, Brian, how you doing? He be like, hey, Kels. I was like, what's up? He's like, what's up? I said, you going to prom? He was like, yeah. I said, oh, okay, cool. And I sat there. Now, my heart is racing because I'm like, okay, this is the moment of truth. I'm like, he ain't even got to like me. You know, we could just go and just hang out. I'm in my head, I'm trying to back out of it kind of, because I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just see him there and we can dance. I don't have to ask him, he doesn't have to go with me, but I was like, nah, don't be a punk. So I sucked up all my courage and I said, hey, do you want to go to prom with me? And I said it all fast. And he was like, what? And I was like, Lord, he's gonna make me say it over. I said, hey, Brian, do you want to go to prom with me? And he smiled at me and he looked me dead in my eyes and said, are you high? Bruh, when I tell you my little heart went poof, and all the pieces rained down in my face, and I was like, bro, okay. Now, I had a choice to make at this particular time. I could agree and be like, yeah, so I could just bow out gracefully, or I could say, no, I'm not high. I want to go to the prom with you. I picked A because I was pumped, and I was so crushed that he said he thought I was under the influence. Like, you are so weird to ask me to prom that you had to be high. Really, bro? But I didn't know what to say, and I didn't know what to do, and it was kind of like a harsh little rejection, so I just said, yeah, I'm high. Ha ha ha. And I went across the room, like way across the room, and I just kind of picked up the book. I didn't cry. I was hurt though, because I was like, wow. So I avoided him for the next 2 weeks. I would go to class, but I would never sit next to him. I would never say anything to him because I was just embarrassed. But maybe when we went to prom, I went with a bunch of my friends because I ended up didn't asking anybody and nobody asked me. So when I went to prom, I went with a bunch of friends of mine. I had an awful dress. It looked like aluminum foil, but that's another story. I get in there, and I'm having a good time, and I'm laughing and joking, and I'm dancing, and I just think to myself, well, I did not have a good time with prom. I did go with my friends, and maybe I didn't go with the boy that I wanted to go with, but I had a good time nonetheless. It didn't break me to be rejected. It didn't break me for somebody to tell me no. And I just wasn't his cup of tea, and that has to be okay. You could just not be somebody's cup of tea. You don't have to, everybody doesn't have to say yes to you. I learned a lot from that. I learned how to take rejection. I learned how that it's okay to shoot your shot and miss, or brick. I bricked. It was all rimmed. It was just going on. But in that, I learned that I still had a good time. I still went. I still had friends. Nothing really changed other than he said no. So be brave, ladies. Be bold. If you want something, go after it. The worst that can happen is you don't get it. Then that means you try again, or you get something that's for you.
Hey y'all, it's Miss Turner, and I'm gonna share a little story with y'all about self-love. We'll call it that. So I was out with my girls one night, saw this guy. I'm like, okay, he's kind of fly. Like, wait a minute, he got the little chain on, got the little diamond studs in his ear, little hat to the back, coat on. So it's going, we dancing, it's vibes, you know what I'm saying? And we decided that we were gonna link on the next day. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of on vacation in a foreign country right now, but you know, carpe diem, seize the day, let's go for it. Like, sure, I'm gonna go out on this date with this random guy. Red flag, number one. So, long story short, we end up hanging out that day. We're driving, going to different beaches. Y'all heard me say driving, right? Red flag number 2, I'm in the car with this man. Okay, so we're going to different beaches, having a good old time, da-da-da-da-da. Then we finally go to this little area. It kind of was like a jungle, but you kind of like go through the trail and it ends in this waterfall and this little lake thing. So we're driving through that, and in my mind I'm like, Naja, you're crazy because you are again in a place that I will not name, and you're driving in the car with this man. You guys are now going through the jungle, and you're acting real chill about this. Like you're acting like you were made for this lifestyle or something. So as we're talking in the car, he proceeds to tell me about his profession, which we'll just say is entrepreneurship. And so eventually, you know, we get to the little lake thing. He pops the trunk of the vehicle, takes out these little chairs for us to sit. We're having a good time. He calls himself making a drink for me, makes a drink for himself, but I'm like, I'm not stupid. Like, I might be a little wild and a little risky, but I'm not stupid. So I didn't drink the drink. But when he gave me the drink, he was like, yeah, you only need to take like a little bit of it. Just like try a sip. So something inside my spirit said, hold on, red flag. He's trying to get you to drink a little bit of something. He said you don't even need to finish it. Like, something's going off here. And so while he was looking the other way, I poured that drink out in the grass because no. And so we leave the place, and then he's like, oh, do you want to go to a hotel room? And at this point, I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. I'm in this man's car. He's now tried to give me a drink, and he's now asking me to go to a hotel. Who knows who he's telling to meet at the hotel? Like, I have no idea how this evening could end. So now I'm getting freaked out. I've shared my location with my friends before, like, going out with this man, and so we've been texting in the group chat the whole time. But at a certain point in time, he asked me like, oh, so your friends haven't asked about you? Like, they don't want to know, you know, where you're at? And so I was like, okay, this is the last red flag. Like, he's trying to figure out why or who I'm with, if I'm alone, if people are looking out for me, and he's trying to drug me. Because remember, he's an entrepreneur, so he has access to certain things. So we're driving in the car, and he puts the hand on my thigh, and he's like, yeah, so come on, like, you should just give me the cookie, basically. And so I'm like, hand on the door, trying to figure out, okay, should I just roll out of the car, or what should I do? Like, how far to the next spot? I'm thinking stop, drop, and roll, because what I'm not about to do is give no kind of cookie to nobody, sir. I don't know what you thought this was. And I'm texting my friends like, uh-oh, this guy is acting weird. So then eventually he's like, oh, what happened, baby? Like, why'd you change? Like, what's up now? Like, what's up with your attitude? As I tell him that, I was like, no, my friends are waiting for me right now. I shared my location with them. As he's driving, I also take out my phone and I'm looking up the directions, trying to make sure that we get to the spot where I was asked to be picked up and dropped off. And so basically, I can tell as we're on the freeway that his eyes are looking at signs and trying to go into the opposite direction of where my Airbnb is. But he also knows that I have my phone in my hand and I'm about to call for help, basically. And so long story short, he ends up just like dropping me off on this street corner, basically, and was like, go. And I just got out of the car like, frozen and scared as heck, like, whoa, what just happened? And so the gag is, I know that I was drugged because later that night I had an ice cream and it had one beverage, or I had an ice cream that had a little bit of a special beverage in it, and I finished it and ended up passing out for like 4 hours. So by the grace of God, I passed out in my Airbnb with my friends instead of in a car with him, when I could have definitely been sex trafficked and other things. And so that little instance where I almost died caused me to wake up and realize, like, girl, your life is so intentional, it's so purposeful, it's so important. Like, God put you here for a reason. And if that weren't the case, I'm sure that scenario would have went quite differently. So my advice to you all is just know yourself, know your worth, and act accordingly. And that'll take you far. And stay safe.
Hello there, my name is Tamika, and I have a story to tell. My story is about me getting shot 3 times in one ankle in one night. They got shot, but I'm here. And yes, I did go to high school, all schools, college. I graduated high school with honors, magnet, all that, walked across the stage, and gangbanged the whole time. The whole time, while I was at school. Before school, the 5-minute in between classes, nutrition lunch, after school, I gangbanged. When I was inside my class, I banged that particular subject. If it was math, it was math. English, English. When that bell rung, I gangbanged my neighborhood that I grew up in. So you can gangbang, still survive, but from one person to another, I would have preferred not to have gangbang. As the saying goes, if I knew then what I know now, the things I wouldn't have done, I would not be shot ever. I would not have done things that I've done. This is a result from me going to a gang hood day. It's not fun. We had fun, party, had a little situation with 2 other females, not me myself personally, they did. So you know, break it up, walking them to their car, and all hell breaks loose. The 3rd shot that was fired hit me in my left ankle. I flew in the air high enough to go over a person who's 5'1". I twirled around in a circle, and as I was twirling around in the air, I was shot 2 more times in the same ankle. 1 bullet chipped my heel bone, so yes, my left leg is shorter than the right. 1 bullet fractured my Achilles tendon, so yes, I had the same injury as Kobe Bryant. And the other one damaged the nerve from the tip of my big toe all the way up to my sciatic nerve. 3 bullets, 1 night, damage for the rest of my life. The point that I am trying to make to young women especially, it's not a good thing to want to hang out, be around gangbanging, and especially going to the little hood days as they call them, because the outcome is you can die. Me as a woman, another woman, she was shot also. So altogether it was like 5 people shot and 4 was women. Amongst all these men, this man shot 4 women. So it was not fun. It was a big old situation. And the result of that was pain for the rest of my life. Nerve damage, my toes at any time will just curl up and lock, and there's nothing I can do. Sometimes I get up and go to stand on it, and it gives out on me. So I had to learn how to walk again and make my right leg my strong leg. And in doing so, now my right leg is telling me, don't try me. So I had to learn how to balance myself all over again on both legs. It's just better to go to school, get your education, walk the straight line, hang here and there, but pick your friends very wisely, very closely, and very carefully.
Hi ladies, I'm Miss Mitchell. I teach AEE 10th grade English Literacy Intervention class, and here's my story. I was 16, had a good head on my shoulders, and was heavily involved in church. I was going to church every single Sunday, 3 services. I was also going to choir rehearsal on Tuesday, Bible study on Wednesdays, volunteering to feed the homeless every 3rd Saturday. When I got to high school, I told myself I would focus on school and not date anyone. But I grew up with this guy who would change all of that. I lived in Compton, went to school in Long Beach. He lived in LA and went to school in Inglewood. He was a nerd, and I was a scholar. There's a difference, you know. He loved math and would solve any equations. I loved English, and I kept correcting him. He was fluent in Spanish, and while he used his multilingual skills to flirt with all the girls, he also used them to curse out anyone trying to step to me. He was a class clown, always in trouble, and in January of 1999, he started to show interest in me. He had already dated a few other girls in the church, so there was a lot of tension. In March, he and I started in a play where I played his girlfriend, and from there, we started dating. In the beginning, it was innocent. Mostly just talking on the phone all night, the house phone that was. We didn't have cell phones back then. Then junior year flew by. In the summer, we traveled across the country together with our church youth group. We were inseparable. Senior year came, we both were involved in sports and were really busy. It strained our relationship. I had some insecurities because I knew he had an ex at his school and they had been sexually active. Guys tried to talk to me all the time, but I would tell them I had a boyfriend. See, I was committed, I was faithful, and I was trustworthy. On the other hand, I had no clue what he was doing at his school in Inglewood. So to keep me happy, he insisted that we spend all of our time together when we weren't in school. We bused and drove to choir rehearsals, Bible studies, and volunteer services together. Every weekend, my mom would chaperone us and took us to the movies. Everything seemed so good. He had a strong family upbringing who were also really connected to our church. His dad was a renowned gospel musician, his mom was a choir member at a mega church, and his grandmother was the trustee at our church, so he knew right from wrong. When it was time for prom, he went to my prom, I went to his prom. He was crowned prom king at his, and after a brief celebration, we abruptly left and he took me to his grandparents' boarding house. He must have heard the hype about having sex on prom night, but I never gave him the impression that that would happen. We did everything but have sex that night. He seemed frustrated and disappointed in me. I was frustrated and disappointed in him. We got dressed and he took me home. I did not want to be another statistics. Get pregnant on prom night? Become a teen mom? Now this wasn't the first time he tried to get in my panties. But this time he was bold. We talked that week for the next couple of weekends. We hung out. He understood I wasn't ready, but I felt like he was getting satisfied from somewhere else. Later on that month, we both realized we were going to the same college, 2,619 miles away from home, Virginia Union University, a Baptist college, a Christian college, all the way on the other side of the country. This is where my life changed. Members at our church told my mom, you should send her with some condoms or get her on birth control because she's definitely going to come back pregnant. Little did I know, little did they know, it would be worse than that. My first week away from home, he was trying to find places to have sex. My mind was racing. My body was saying yes and no. After one time with him, I felt like I have given up my life. My mind, my body, and my soul belonged to him. I couldn't understand why I was so vulnerable. Maybe because I was afraid of my mom back home, or what the congregation would think, or because I waited this long, 17 years old. But when that oxytocin was released into my body, I then was his, and I would do anything for him because I loved him. We would have sex all the time. I would sneak into his dorm room and stay over, or we would go to the dark room where he worked and printed out negatives, since he was the photographer of the school. Second semester, he became more active on campus, and our time together dwindled down, but he would still spend hours in the dark room. My friends started to tell me that they saw him messing around with other girls. When I asked him about it, he felt betrayed. I felt an immediate shift, arguments after arguments, and one night, the arguments grew to a rage I'd never seen before, and he punched me. Now, I wasn't used to this side of him, and I wasn't used to being hit, so I hit him back. And then it was blow after blow. The next morning, I found myself laying on the steps of the chapel. Not sure how I got there, and vaguely remembered what happened. I cried and I cried. I was embarrassed. This 5'10", 225-pound guy had lost his mind. The next day, I didn't go to class. He called and called for about a week. I told my roommate I didn't want to talk to him, and I told his friends the same thing. I do not want to talk to him. By that weekend, I was finally ready to talk. He asked for forgiveness, and I forgave him because I loved him and believed he was capable of change. The next month, he traveled to South Carolina for a band competition. I didn't go. I would later find out that he had sex with a cheerleader on the trip. Before they even got back to campus, I already knew. He denied it and tried to avoid me. I was angry, full of rage, and when I tracked him down, I told him, I had cheated on you during winter break. He punched me so hard, y'all, so hard, that I felt like I was hit by a car. I flew to the ground and got back up swinging. Someone ended up breaking us up that day. This time, I just knew I was done with him. But I was so alone. No one really knew me. I was far from home. No one to lean on, no one to depend on. We fought a couple more times before our first year of college ended. I ended that school year with a .087 GPA. I knew he was no good for me. I was a pre-med student. I came back home with my abuser, and it got worse from there. No one at home ever knew what happened while we were there that first year. I enrolled in Southwest College, and he enrolled in West LA. I would go to his house multiple times a week, spending the night. But once again, during the day and at nights that I wasn't there, I wouldn't know what he was doing. By this time, he was smoking weed more often than he did in Virginia, and he knew I didn't like it. Now, weed influences everything from mood to metabolism to memory to movement. It heightens anxiety and paranoia. We would be driving and he will haul off and hit me because he didn't believe what I was saying or I was accusing him of something. There were 2 more severe altercations. One put me into the hospital. I had 2 chipped bottom teeth, a deadened top teeth, and a broken nose. He hit me with an old school house phone and had a knife to my neck. As his mom watched, she seemed to enjoy it. She didn't stop him. He cut my face, and his father drove us to the UCLA hospital. This seemed like a ritual to them. No one was fazed but me. The next week I went to work. I was working at Jordan Locke Adult School at 112th Street Elementary. The head teacher, she was very concerned and told me, Paulina, you need to run and never look back. Shortly after that is when I learned his mother was abused by his father. And he watched as they fought and watched as his father beat his mother over and over again, day after day. Maybe they thought that was love. And I guess that's why I stayed, because I loved him. I thought this was love. The hormones that were so powerful initially, it began to break down. I didn't trust him anymore, didn't want to bond with him anymore, and the loyalty, it wasn't there. But it seemed like I was still tied to him, like he owned me. When I gave up the goods and gave him the power, he acted like he owned me, like no one else would love me like he loved me. Well, he was wrong. I had 3 knee surgeries from previous sports injuries, and he didn't support me with any of them. 2 years after that, that was the final straw. I was now attending Cal State Dominguez Hills, and he was attending Cal State San Bernardino. 3 out of 4 nights, I drove all the way to his dorm and later to his apartment. I could tell other girls had been there, and some nights he didn't even answer the phone, and he wouldn't even let me in. But on one particular day, I came over, and he was acting strange. He allowed me in. We talked, and just in a few minutes, the atmosphere changed. He wanted me to leave. I wasn't leaving. I wasn't going anywhere. We fought like there was no tomorrow. It ended with him dragging me out of his house by my brown stiletto boots. I decided then to walk away from that unhealthy relationship, and I learned I had to love myself first. I vowed to myself to never let anyone treat me like that ever again. I thought that was love, y'all. Thank God it wasn't love. So to you, my little sisters, love yourself and do not let anyone demean you, mistreat you, or abuse you. Do not let anyone hold you back from your dream. Your body, your mind, and your worth is important. You're valuable. Watch out. Be careful. Love yourself.